We sailed around the world for the last 15 years on this boat right here. And we've replaced pretty much every major system on board, except for this one.
Well, there she is. Some memories with this one. This one's been all over the place with us.
This old gal has over 9,100 hours on her. And while she's been an absolute workhorse over the years, she's definitely seen better days.
Yeah, this thing's pretty nasty, huh?
And as much as I have a sentimental bond after everything we've been through together, there comes a time when you have to make some hard decisions.
I replaced that, I replaced this, replaced that, replaced this, replaced that. I've replaced this 3 times.
So what do we do with this 25-year-old Franken-Engine? Do we rebuild it from the ground up, or is it finally time to deck Delos out with a brand new one? But that's not our only engine dilemma for the day. And we've got big moves happening right next door on Delos too. It's all things engines in this week's episode, so buckle up and let's get in gear.
Oh! Look at that!
We're kicking off today's episode on the porthole side of Delos 2. Several months ago, we did a full dry fit in the engine room. We dropped our Nanny N480 right in place, as well as our combi electric motor. We needed to align the mounts, pumps, filters, and a bunch of other components to find a layout that worked well. If you missed that episode, I'll pop the link for you up in the corner right over here if you want to check it out. But now with my dream engine room layout in place, we're ready to all the final welding, painting, and soundproofing, which means that everything has to come back out.
Can you come forward just the tiniest amount? Now let's come up a tiny bit. Okay, stop.
If you watch the episode where we drop the engine in, you remember that it's a bit of a tight squeeze.
Ow! Oh, the thermostat housing is hitting now.
After lots of trial and error, we discovered that it needs to be tilted at an angle to get clearance through the hatch. It took a bit of tinkering and tweaking to get it just right, but once we had it, we lifted her straight up and right out of there.
That was pretty smooth.
Yeah, and once you know which way we had to do it.
Yeah.
We got a lot of comments on the video when we put this in. Why didn't you make the engine room big door bigger? And like, well, it should be big enough to fit the engine in and out, but no bigger, no smaller. So you only need to do this typically like when she's in, like she's in for 10, 20, 25 years, whatever. So, and if it can come out in 10 minutes, then I think the door's the perfect size.
Cool.
It's always a relief when things go so smoothly and according to plan. And with this task checked off the list, we're about to move on to something super exciting next door on Delos 1.
But before we get into that project, I want to share something a little bit more personal with you guys. So one thing I'm really proud of is how well me and Brian work together. So for almost 15 years now, we live together, work together, travel together, and basically spend all our time together, running our own business and building this boat. We're constantly just dividing tasks and making decisions. And I think we've naturally just fallen into our roles. If you watch the videos, you probably noticed that I've taken on most of the interior design and how things kind of look, feel, and function, whilst Brian dives deep into more of the systems and the technical side of things. And honestly, I think it works because we're both very passionate about our own areas, but then you have like the whole family aspect of life as well, with school drop-off and pickups, swimming lessons, bedtime routines. And to be really open with you guys, which I want to be even in between all the crazy projects and this boat build, there's definitely parts of our relationship where we just like really struggle to understand each other. I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but I feel like we talk about things and it gets better for a while, but then we always seem to end up back in the same place. So to have someone that has been kind of like helping us to guide those conversations, and like notice patterns that we didn't really see before, and even small shifts like talking about things before they build up too much, I feel has already made a big difference, which is really exciting. And that's why I'm really happy that BetterHelp is the paid partner of this week's video. Just knowing that we didn't have to figure everything out on our own, and also just having that person there to like guide our conversations has honestly just been such a big relief. It's super easy to get started. Just fill out a quick questionnaire and you'll be matched with a therapist as soon as possible. So if you're curious, just check out the link in the description below or head on over to betterhelp.com/Delos for 10% off your first month. Okay, now I'm gonna go outside and check how Brian is doing.
Morning, morning. I'm on Delos 1 this morning, and we're starting out on a pretty cool project. It's been something I've been thinking about doing for a long time, and finally decided to pull the cord on it and get it done. Basically, we've decided to repower Delos. It's the only major system that I haven't redone, and although the Volvo is still doing fine, it's starting to show its age, getting a little bit long in the tooth. It's got just over 9,000 hours on it, I think, about 9,100 and some odd hours, and so some things are starting to go strange with it. The turbo stopped working again. She's starting to get an oil leak that's getting progressively worse. Everything's getting kind of nasty and corroded, and so we were left with basically two choices. The first choice was to rebuild the Volvo. So I went ahead and did a cost-benefit analysis on that, and by the time I added up the charges of pulling the diesel engine out, buying a rebuild kit, getting it rebuilt, and then replacing not only the internal components, but everything on the outside, which would include like all the injection pumps, the fuel pumps, all the alternators, the heat exchanger, the turbo, and then you get into like the timing belt, the electronic wiring harness, and then the control panel. Just the control panel alone was over $1,000 US. And so by the time I added up all the labor and all the parts, it actually made sense financially just to buy a brand new engine and swap her in. And so because we've worked so well with the guys at Nani, and we absolutely love the diesel engines that they make, and it's very similar in design to the Volvo in that it's a very robust mechanical system, very minimal electronics on it. That's the exact reason why I chose it for Delos too. So we decided to go with a Nani N480 again. There's also the warranty aspect. So if we were to rebuild the old diesel engine, then we just don't get the same warranty that's provided by Nani out of the factory, out of the box, which it's nice. It's nice to have that maintenance honeymoon that's going to come with having a brand new engine and gearbox with 0 hours in there. So
with our decision made, we're ready to go full steam ahead with the repower, which brings us to step 1.
The goal today is to get the old Volvo out, and then they're going to take the Volvo back to their shop, and then they're going to see what changes are required to get the Nani to fit directly in there. I don't think it's going to be much. I'll report back as we make progress. You don't mess around, Steve. We only started this morning with your guys, and she's already about ready to come out, huh?
You might remember Steve from the previous episodes when we installed our Nani N480 on Delos 2. He's an expert in marine diesel engines and a distributor for Nani in Australia. He's been an invaluable resource, not only in the research and decision-making process, but in pulling all the logistics together to make everything go off without a hitch. And today, he's got his team here to pull our old Volvo out and haul it back to their shop.
You guys ready? Yeah, we're ready. All right, I'm gonna set up a time lapse.
The first step was to take off the engine room hatch door. I've heard of people needing to do major deconstruction work for engine removal, or at least need to pull apart the interior and pull it out through a hole cut in the deck or the companionway. But luckily for us, good old Henri ML thought about this in advance, and the whole hatch comes off in about 30 minutes. The next task was to unbolt all the hoses, the connection between the transmission and the MLC drive, all the engine mounting bolts, and then finally remove the exhaust system. Then she was ready to go.
She coming, guys?
A diesel engine of this size weighs somewhere between 250 and 300 kilos, depending on the make and model and if it's full of fluids. It's actually not that much as far as engines go, so a 1-ton come-along and a forklift are plenty to do the job.
Come back. I can possibly just shift it a bit with my weight.
All right, making progress. I'm gonna get down there and get a shot from down below. Came out pretty quick. These guys don't mess around. Some memories with this one. This one's been all over the place with us. Yeah, so you got a salt water leak here. We've got an oil leak somewhere, probably all over the place. Yeah, this thing's pretty nasty, huh? I replaced that. I replaced this. Replace that, replace this, replace that. I've replaced this 3 times, the turbo. So, yeah, it's just been a matter of bolting new parts onto the outside of this ever-aged engine. So I think we made the right choice here.
Even if it was the right choice, there's still a part of me that feels sad to part ways with the old girl. We've had our fair share of squabbles over the years, just like any good relationship, but she always found a way to come through when it really mattered, through storms, breakdowns, and some downright questionable decisions on my part, but she never left us stranded.
It's time to say goodbye. She's me and this Volvo. I was just telling Steve some stories. We've been through some stuff together. And what do you think we're looking at now? The new one's gonna show up in a couple of weeks, and then
It's due here in a few days, actually.
Sweet.
And then we've swapped the transmission that suits your application.
Yep. Yep.
And the extra alternator kit, so the additional alternator for your house batteries. Modify the feet to suit your existing frame, because the ML's got an unusual mounting system.
Yeah.
Sandblast to repaint the frames, some new flex mounts, put it back in. Exhaust is more or less plug and play.
So good to go.
As is fuel system, seawater system's all pretty straightforward. So.
Sweet.
Yep.
Well, thanks for coming out, Steve. A pleasure as always. All right, man. See you later.
Later that week, after Steve and the guys got everything prepped and ready, our new Nani was ready to get dropped in. While replacing the engine is a big moment for us, for these guys, it's just another day in the office. Everything went smooth and according to plan. And later that day, I couldn't wait to hop down into the engine room and lay eyes on our sleek and sexy new upgrade. Maybe. Corner.
Welcome to the engine room of Delos One. It's big enough for 3 people, a generator, and a brand new Nani N480 diesel engine. How's it going so far?
Good.
Is it going pretty good?
Yep, we're in, we're aligned, we're bolted down.
That's good news.
And we're hooking up all the support systems. It took all of about 5 minutes to drop it straight through the hole into place, which is way easier than most boats would do, so we love that.
Yep, and then she's mounted the same way. Looks like the original engine mount sort of lined up pretty good. The width is like very similar, so it was just a matter of drilling slightly different holes.
Yeah, so we took the original steel frame, sandblasted it, repainted it, drilled a slightly different set of holes for the engine attachment with a new set of mount spaces and some new flexible engine mountings, and lined the new engine up exactly to the original position of the C drive.
I like the position of the raw water pump on this one.
The pump's really nice and easy to service.
The other one was right above all the electronics, so every time I changed the impeller it would just drip salt water over all the relays, which I didn't think was a great design. This is much better. How's the power curve of this one compared to the old Volvo?
So this one is 75 horsepower at 2,600 revs, if memory serves me correct. The old Volvo is 75 at 3,500 to 4,500
okay,
RPM.
so the power range is actually quite a bit lower.
So
RPM.
same power at much lower RPM and more torque. So what we did was we used an alternative gearbox ratio. So we're going to be almost exactly spinning the same propeller at the same RPM, just at a much lower engine RPM. So using that torque that this engine develops, give you a much lower cruising RPM, which makes it a lot nicer to live with as well.
Yeah, I think that'll be quite nice. So it's a we went with the 2-to-1.
2-to-1 gearbox.
2-to-1 gearbox,
right.
and the one for the...
I think it was 2.7
to 1.
2.7, yeah.
Cool, and the next steps, looks like the exhaust is going
Exhaust.
in.
Fuel's already connected, so not too far off turning the key, hopefully.
Sweet.
Wow.
Full speed ahead. Steve and his team continued by wiring up the second 24-volt alternator and hooking up all the hoses, linkages, control systems, and wiring harness for the new helm control panel and switch. With all the little details to get her all hooked up, the next day it was time to fire her up and see how we did. We basically shoved a garden hose right into the top of the sea strainer and into the raw water pump inlet hose, leaving the through hole open to avoid overpressurizing the system. A crude but effective way to make sure the engine has cooling water if you want to start her up on the hard. You ready? Yeah, we basically run the hose up from the shop and up into the sea strainer, and so that's the excess water. Because we're about to try it.
Yeah, wait, let me come and talk about it.
Well, let's come up and we'll talk
let's go off? Okay.
Yeah. What's happening, Steve?
First start of the new engine.
Yes.
Wow.
Some water up and we're going to test run.
We got it all. She's all primed.
Primed,
Got
ready to go.
ATF in there, oil's in there, coolant's in there.
George has just finished filling up the coolant.
Electrical's hooked up.
Wow.
Look at that. What do you think about the panel?
Oh, that's great.
Doesn't that look nice? We decided to let you do the honors, Kaz.
Oh, I don't know. I'm nervous. I don't want to start it.
No, you get to start it. No, you get to push the
What
button.
if I mess it up?
How you get? Steve will say exactly how to do it.
Dang.
You can't mess it up.
Shouldn't have pushed that button.
You just make sure it's
Show
in
you the
neutral.
secret.
That's a self-explode button.
It's key on for ignition,
Oh, that's a good sign.
Okay.
and you can hear we've wired the extractor fan in the engine room, so the fan comes on with the key now.
Yeah.
And then you press the start button to start, but the start button's a bit tricky, it's dual function. You push it halfway to preheat the engine, and then all the way to crank. So a warm day you don't really need it, but if it's cold weather you preheat before
Oh,
you
you
start.
That's the glow plugs.
Ready, George?
Ready? Clear, George?
Send it.
Send it. Full send.
Yeah.
Oh! Look at that.
Oh, it's quiet, huh?
Yeah, she's quiet and she's smooth.
Amazing.
Yeah, a lot quieter than the other one.
Great.
Yep. Got water coming out over there, Steve? Yep. Sweet. All right. Good job.
Mission successful.
Nice job.
Thank you, sir.
Nice job, George. You guys are awesome. Check that one off the list. Only about 80,000 more things to do. Can we give her a few revs?
Yep.
Wow, she is quiet. Okay, pop her forward. It's spinning. There she is.
Hey, what's going on today, Ray?
This is the last piece of the puzzle for the repower project. In talking to Steve and looking at the power curves, the Nani is where it produces power is lower in RPM than the Volvo was. So that's a good thing. We've compensated for some of that with the gearbox or the transmission. Ideally, I think, according to Brunton's propellers,
we would have had a transmission ratio of 2.2 or 2.3 to 1. They don't offer that ratio. The closest they have is 2 to 1. And so that means that the prop is going to spin a little bit faster than ideal. And so Bruntons have stepped up, and it turns out that this is the Bruntons Autoprop H6, which we've had on since the beginning of the trip, and we absolutely love. It's been an amazing propeller for us. So cool the way it auto feathers, and then, you know, when you're motor sailing, it'll pitch up for you, and when you're trying to go fast, it'll pitch down, and does all sorts of cool things. What they've done is they've actually sent us new blades. And so what my project is today is I'm going to pull the prop off. I'm going to replace the bearings and fit the new blades, and that way the prop will be 100% ideally matched to the power curve of the new 90.
I already taken a look at the instructions on how to change the blades, and it looked pretty straightforward and simple to do. But what I didn't anticipate was that the hardest part of the whole project would be actually getting them off. The rattle gun to the rescue. And then I've got my handy dandy prop puller. I'll screw that like that. Next one. Doesn't have enough power. I'd have to do it the old-fashioned way. Ready?
Yep, ready.
There she is.
Nice.
Now I can take this next door and do it on the nice comfy bench. So I'm just going through the instructions from Bruntons. They provide a bunch of specialty tools to get this apart. It comes apart pretty neatly. So you have this peg spanner that just goes into these holes on the end of the caps. And once the cap comes off, it exposes the actual bearings that are filled with grease and stuff. So the idea is I'll get everything apart, everything clean, get the old bearings off, and then we just basically do the reverse. New blades go on, new bearings go on, everything gets greased, and then put it back on. So it should take a couple hours, I think. So there's this special spanner that you're to use. This goes on like that. Should see if I can do this while still holding the camera. Okay. Then the blade should just pop right on off now. Boom. Easy, easy, easy. Okay, so that took about 5 minutes. Just reading through the instructions here, it says after you get all the blades off, now I'm supposed to clean the grease off, which seems pretty self-explanatory. All right, making good progress, moving along. Everything's disassembled, cleaned, and now I'm starting the reassembly process. Just reading through the directions. Next I'm to insert the bearing races into the blade hubs. So we've got this guy. These are gonna fit right in there. And then when we're doing final assembly, these bearings will go right in there just like that. Pretty slick design. Locate the thrust race, ball race into the hub thrust washer and fit the blade over the hub. And then we have our central bearing that goes in there. Then we put the nut on with some, looks like Loctite. Before I put the thread locker, I always like to just make sure that everything fits first. That guy goes on like that guy. All right, all those guys are torqued on pretty good.
Blades are spinning freely. There's no rocking motion, so that feels good. Next step is these are a very important piece. So it's important to keep bending these little tabs down because that's what actually helps to lock that lock nut in place. So this is reverse threaded. So we basically put this on, and then what we do, so I need to tighten it a little bit until that tab matches up with that. And now I just simply hit it with the hammer until that tab bends down into there, and then that locks that in place. It's not coming off. So these are the caps. I've put new O-rings on them. These basically just thread right on here, and then we grease it up, and then we're done. So, okay, so we're supposed to be pumping this in while we rotate the blades. There it goes. That's what we're looking for. Hi. Went together pretty quick. It actually only took a couple of hours. Prop. Nut. I wonder how many times I've done this.
So much.
Sad to think this is probably the last time.
Hopefully.
That's pretty tight. That was almost 120. I think that's probably good. Yeah, we're happy there. All right, she's all greased up. There's one final step that is super important to lock this guy in with Loctite to keep that nut from ever being able to spin out, right? Learned that from experience. Last, right in the sink. Boom, done.
That was great.
Looks pretty nice, huh?
So that's the last thing then, huh?
For the repower, yes.
Yes.
It's never the last thing, Cass. We hope you enjoyed geeking out on all the little details of this project with us. If you can't get enough of the build, make sure and subscribe to our channel because we're getting close to 1 million subs. And also click the notification bell so you never miss an episode. It's a totally free way to support our channel, and it actually helps us out a lot. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next Friday back here in the shop.